people I wanted to help, but I never felt completely satisfied that that's what it actually was. So when I read Ange and went through the first module of nutting out your niche, I then found, and actually once I started using my intuition, then I found it went and took me to a completely different place than I even thought of, because I was always struggling with having that many different journeys, and I just never knew which journey I wanted to share with the world and connect with the people that were like myself that had that struggle. And I wanted to get them from that struggle point to, to freedom, like I had found. And I just didn't know which one to use. And it was through the help of Ange and the support of the other people in the group that I really nutted down and I really found what the niche was that was really meant for me, and which journey I wanted to talk about, and which people I wanted to help.
Wow. That's I'm so happy for you actually, because it almost comes as a surprise to me. I know it shouldn't. I should feel a lot more confident about the results that I get for people. But no, it always surprises me how powerful intuition is. Um, I have a couple of questions, and the recording started a little bit later than I expected to. So if you'd like to talk to me a little bit more about your business and what makes it different. Are you into nutrition and
Yeah, I'm
wellness?
into, yeah, nutrition, wellness. I'm a clinical nutritionist as well as a meditation and mindfulness technique teacher. So yeah, so it's the whole holistic approach with yourself. I was originally looking after people with women that were struggling the roller coaster diet ride and not accepting the bodies for who they were and what they look like in the mirror. And since then, since joining yourself, I've sort of nutted down that niche that little bit further to help the people that actually now, for women that are carers, to loved ones, sick loved ones that are struggling to find that the right juggle and the right balance with day-to-day life and being that carer role. So for me, that was a personal thing that I have been and I am. And now I've found that's the people that I'm really helping at the moment.
And that lights you up, does it?
Yeah, yeah. It's everything. I mean, helping others always lit me up. Knowing, the success stories that you get a person from their struggle across that jump the gap, to get the other side always made me feel warm and fuzzy anyway. But I guess knowing probably a deeper sense, I think, because I was always someone that I allowed my ego to question and rule me, I think, where I think my ego was always the one that said, well, this is the path I think you should be doing. I think this is where, and I
Mm.
think I always sort of played it a little bit safe, I think. I think my
Yeah.
ego sort of did
Mm.
sort of what everybody else in the market was doing, even though I was good at what I did. And I always felt good about what I did. I think the ego was the one that was actually driving my path, where now I feel like I've now dug a little bit deeper in myself with my intuition, with your help and the group's help, that now I feel like I'm now doing what I really should be doing
And how does that
instead of,
feel? What the difference? How does the difference feel? I'm kind of curious.
um, yeah, it's a weird, because I do find that my ego still does question me and it still does
Oh,
challenge and go,
it will
you
still
know,
do
and
that. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and it will come up with the few times I will have where I think I've nailed it and I've sort of sat with it and I thought I've nailed it, I've sat with it. And then and I've then questioned, gone, oh no, I don't think there's that many people that need that kind of help. Oh no, I don't think I can help. I'm probably better going back to what I was doing. Um,
Mm.
and I've now got to a point, the difference that I feel now is I'm starting to realize that it's the ego now that's pushing me away from that point. That I think has probably been my biggest difference in being in the academy, is that I now know what's pulling me away is my ego now, not
And
when
you
I'm second
recognize it when it
guessing.
speaks, yeah?
Yeah. So it's now when I second guess myself, I sort of know that it's the ego and
Mm.
I sort of I'm now able to sort of turn and go, okay, that's not happening. I'm doing what is truly, yeah, I'm finding that's a big difference. It took a little bit of time. It's taken a little bit of time to go, okay, don't listen to it.
Oh, I still have my little battles with my ego. Yeah. She really
Yeah.
wants to be involved. So I'm finding new ways to
Oh,
involve her now.
yeah. And I think that's the key. I think that's the thing that I found that the biggest part for me, the biggest learning since joining the academy is that I now know that difference where I could never identify what the difference was between my ego and then my intuition. I guess that was the big key point for me, was that it was not knowing that if some idea came up, was that my ego, was that my intuition?
Mm.
It was one of those things where, oh, I'm going this way. This is what I've decided to do in the business, with the business. And it's like, oh, is that the intuition or is that my ego that's doing that? And now I'm starting to know the difference of the two now.
Mm. Well, that's really good. Took me a while to, because the ego can really mask as the intuition. It's very, very clever, isn't it?
It
That's my
is. It's sort of,
experience.
yeah. And I have to say, there's probably times that it is the ego, and I've probably gone a bit with the intuition, thinking it is the intuition, and it may be fooling me a couple of times, but just the fact that I can, when it happens now, I can question it now, where I never questioned it before. I just went, oh, okay, that's the wrong thing to do, then don't do it.
Mm. Oh, I love that.
Where sort of that's what I was like before. It was, oh, if that, when I had that change of niche, it was like my ego comes straight afterwards. When I wrote it down and was sitting with it, it straight away, my ego came in and went, nobody's going to need that.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, okay. And I went to scrub it out and went, hang on a minute. Yeah, just having that for
Mm.
me was a massive win. That just enough for me to go, hang on a minute, that I didn't just go straight for the ego.
Mm.
That I actually second guessed my ego. Actually, I ended up then second guessing the ego, which I've never ever done. So that made me feel good.
Mm. Oh, wonderful. So do you feel that you've received the support that you needed within the group?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
You've been terrific, Ange. It's sort of something, like I said, it's something I've always challenged myself, the ego and the intuition. I've always had the gut feel there, but I've never ever felt, I've been someone that's really not followed my intuition ever. And I know intuitively there's been times that I should have. A lot of times I should have. I've tug of warred with myself quite a lot over the years in different areas of my life, and ego has always won out. And I think that having yourself as a support that you have, but I think what's been the big key point for me in the group is people sharing their own feelings as well. So you felt like you weren't alone. So you're sort of like with this playing this tug of war. I always thought I was just the one that was playing tug of war all the time.
Mm.
But to hear your stories, as well as others in the group, yeah, that's made a massive difference, that you know you're known, so therefore you're not being the only weirdo.
Yeah, because I don't remember any of my intuition teachers or mentors mentioning the tug of war ever. And that's something
Yeah.
I've felt weird myself, because I still do it, and I've been in this business for 15 years. So I suppose this because I attract more people who have a very strong mind, a very logical mind, and who would not necessarily um, consider themselves intuitives even, or it's really not something that is that familiar. So there's this whole
Mm.
learning curve of I believe actually that it's about blending the mind and the intuition into what I call the intuitive intelligence, but it takes some practice because it's something that's completely new.
Oh, it's yeah, it is. It's something that I've found that I've had to really work on as well, because it's so easy for me to go with the logical mind, because I was always a skeptic. I was always And I sort of didn't start to follow my intuition until probably really recognize my intuition to probably about 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When I was going through having my child, like having my son, and I was on an IVF journey, and I'd been through a massive IVF roller coaster. And it wasn't until then that when I went on my third attempt, the attempt that was successful to have my miracle boy that I've got today, that was one of the differences. That there were several differences I did on that attempt, from a from a holistic point of view, a wellness point of view, that kind of thing. But it was also the intuitive. I visualized more. I use my visual techniques more. Use my intuitive, and which I'd never done before. I'd never really relied on my intuition. So I guess it was from then. That's when my intuition that I started, that was the turning point for me, where I went, okay, I need to listen to this.
Mm.
And I think over the time and then as I've started the business 12 months ago, then I've found that now I've got to apply that to the business, and that's how I've managed to find you, which has been terrific. Because now I can't do what I should have done.
Well, I think hindsight is a wonderful thing. And I'm sure you've learned a lot of things by not following your intuition, as we all do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
nothing's lost. Nothing's lost. Okay, I
No.
wanted to ask you a couple of questions. First, have you been in a group program before?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what would you say is the difference between the Business Intuitive Academy and the other programs, group programs you might have followed?
The content as such, is what you cover on a monthly, like your month. So in terms of your niche, your content offer, all that kind of thing. So from the business strategy point of view, shall I say, they're the same. Like the actual tools are the same. So your niche, your content, your
Yeah.
building blocks for your business, they are the same. So the titles are the same, but the actual content is different. So if I take the niche, for example, of last month, where I had done a niche model before, hence why I ended up having a different niche before, because I nutted down. So I came into the group knowing and understanding that the importance of the niche and a target market. So that was still there. That philosophy is exactly the same, but it was how it was delivered was completely different. And it actually was the difference between, for me, I believe it was the difference between ego and intuition.
Oh,
What my head thought. So in the last group, it was what my head thought I should do.
yeah.
And this time I feel it's what my heart and what my internal really wants me to do. So that's where I find the difference between the two groups. The actual tools are the same, but it's how you get that end result is different.
Oh, wonderful. I really thank you for validating that, because that's exactly what I wanted to do, is to give someone a different result with the same tools, but a different results that feels aligned and powerful.
And I think it feels more aligned with yourself. Not that the other tool didn't, not when you did it from a logical point of view. It's easy to do with logic, because I am a logical person. I have a science degree, so a health science degree. So science and evidence is somebody I'm pretty much backed by. So for me, going into a group that had logic, that kind of thing, that came second nature. So I guess it was what I think it should be.
Yep.
What I think I should do, what evidence proves I should do. There's X amount of people out there struggling with weight loss. Well, that's something that I should help them with. It was that kind of thing, different compared to yourself, where it's like, I know I want to help people. That's a no-brainer. But for me, it was like, but really, how do I want to help the people? Like, what's really going to make me excited. And I think the difference for me is why I think that came out, what my niche, how my niche has come out in the end, is it's come out because it's actually been the journey that I wanted to take people on, my story as well. And I guess
And
that was something I struggled with.
exactly. And as far as I know, I don't know anyone who specializes in helping carers or people who are heavily involved in supporting someone through a difficult time, in keeping on track with their health and wellness and slimming even. So that's very
Yeah,
exciting, because we have
yeah,
different, and I say we because you know I'm your ideal client. We have very
yeah,
different problems, issues than someone who's not a carer.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah. And it's been interesting. Like I've done a few market research, and it's been interesting that there's been some that are women where they're carers for their sons, you know, children that are sick, one that's ongoing, one that's really ill, like one's like in terms of hospital and all that kind of thing, with their daughter. So sort of that's from a child point of view, but then there's others that have been from a partner point of view. But the amazing part is that whether you're caring for a child or you're caring for a partner, it's amazing that you're caring for somebody completely different, but at the same time you're feeling the same. That's what's been amazing, that the want is still the same, that all don't have time for their own health and well-being. So no matter who you care for, it still comes back. So in terms of, because I did think maybe I need to go back a bit deeper, should it be about women that are caring for, you know, their significant other, more so than children? But then the more I've done research, the more I've seen it to be they all need the same thing. They all need
And
help to be able to carve out time.
and I think I talked in the training about the pull effect, that it doesn't matter if you specialize with carers for their own children, people who are attracted to your messaging and who resonate with you, even if it's their partner instead of their kids, they'll just ask you, are you happy to work with me? It's not my child, but it's my partner. And then it enables you to pull all those secondary markets, so to speak, but you still need to speak to that one market to be laser clear that you understand what they're going through.
And that's why I think I think for me, and this is probably the ego as well, I seem to find that I really like to identify somebody on the exact same level. So I don't like to say, I feel your pain. I really want to know that I feel their pain. I'm that kind of person that I really feel I've got to walk in that person's shoes, even though you walk them differently. But you've walked a similar path. And I find if I've walked a similar path to somebody, then I feel like my heart is being honest when I say, I understand and I feel for you. I really do, because I have walked that path. So therefore, so that's why I've sort of not limited it to, and I was going to limit it to just being your partner. But then I found with people that I've spoken to, it seems to be, it doesn't matter who it is, they've got the same struggles and they've got the identical struggles and they've got the same identical wants. So it doesn't matter if it's, because some people said, like one woman was a single mother that's got a sick son. And she was more of, she hasn't got support because she hasn't got a partner, which is the exact same. I could understand her pain because I had a sick husband and I don't have that support because he would be my support. So I don't have a partner. So it's the best, I guess I could understand when she was saying about being a single mother, because sometimes when my husband's been sick looking after my son, I did feel like a single mother. So the same, although they were different, you're caring for something different, you're feeling different, the actual result of what you need and struggle with are the same, which I thought was quite amazing, actually.
Wonderful. So I think you answered the question already, but let's just be more specific. What is your favorite thing about the Business Intuition Academy, and what made you sign up?
the fact that it could identify that it could actually help me resonate with what I really want, not what my head tells me that I want.
Wonderful.
That's been the key, yeah. And like I said before, knowing the difference of when my ego's trying to talk me out of things.
Hmm. And what would you say, that's the last question, what would you say to someone who's sitting on the fence about joining?
Do it. You must do it. You need to be true. If you really, really want to know what you really, really want to do, then this is what you need to do. You need to be in touch with yourself, to follow what you really want. And I believe that's by coming into the academy, because
Thank you.
that's really what I felt.
Thank you so much for your testimonial. I really, really appreciate, Kelly.
That's
Thank you
okay. My
also for the
pleasure.
people who are watching the video, and we'll see you in the group then. Thank you very much. Bye,
Thanks. No
Kelly.
worries.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.